Welcome, welcome, welcome to the discotheque of deduction that we call QI Presents Strictly Come Duncing. Before the larks begin, please decide if you would like to dunce with a friend or if you'd rather play with yourself. You seem lonely, my dear. We can't have that. You too shall go to the ball in the company of our resident dunce champion, Mr. Alan Duncing Queen Davis. If you want to get dancing straight away, simply select your preferred dunce hall by clicking on the hat. If you aren't yet familiar with dancing etiquette, click on the magnifying glass and I'll explain everything. I hope I won't disappoint when I say that QI Presents Strictly Come Duncing has very little to do with dancing and absolutely nothing to do with presents. In fact, virtually the only references to dancing are in the titles of each section of the game, or dunce halls as we call them. You can access these at any time by clicking on the dunce's hat on your screen. Each dunce hall contains 4 quite interesting Quizlets, technically known as dunce floors, of 10 questions each. I shall reward correct answers with 2 points, wrong answers with 0 points, and very, very wrong answers with -5 and a slap on the body, or dancing on arse, as my pun-writing people insist on calling it. You can check your tally at any point during the game by marking your dunce card. The player with the most points after 10 questions may burst into tears and treat him or herself to a flute of imaginary champagne. A word of caution from your dunce master. Mind your steps at all times. At each and every turn, you may slip on the greasy parquet of general ignorance. So keep your wits about you. And if you're ready, click, 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 click slow, and take your partners for Strictly Come Dancing! Welcome to pole dancing, the dance that evolved from maypole dancing. Let's dance. How did the singer Moby get his name? After Moby Dick? After the Mobius strip? It stands for Music of Blessed Youth. It rhymes with his brother's name, Toby.
D. Rhymes with Toby.
A is indeed correct. The singer Moby is named after Moby Dick, written by Herman Melville, his great-great-great-grand uncle. Born Richard Melville Hall, Moby changed his name to Moby after he read the book. Why would you have worn purple knickers in 1952? To celebrate the end of rationing? To mourn the death of King George VI? Because of a mishap at Britain's biggest underwear factory? Because they were compulsory in schools?
Because they were compulsory in schools.
When George VI died in 1952, mauve pants were solemnly placed in haberdashers' windows in the West End. Right up until the 1950s, purple was an appropriate colour to wear at a funeral. You know, there's an entire branch of life that is represented by only one species. Where would you find it? A, on the lip of a Norwegian lobster. B, in Birmingham. C, in Harrods Food Hall. D, inside your own nose.
Inside your own nose, D.
Yes, it is A. The species is called Symbion pandora, and it lives in the bristles surrounding the mouth of the Norwegian lobster. It's barely visible to the eye and survives on the crumbs of the lobster's food. Now, what do Central American villagers use to dye their clothes purple? Grapes, perhaps? Finches' tongues? Purple sea snail tears? Or possibly guinea pig pelts?
A. Grapes.
C is the right answer. The secretions of the purple caracola sea snails have such a strong smell that clothes can still smell of garlic 6 months after being dyed. What did the polar explorer John Ross give to the Inuit of Greenland on making the first ever contact with them? Was it A, his favourite snooker cue, B, a jar of marmalade, C, 40 umbrellas, or D, cigars?
B. Jar of marmalade.
40 umbrellas, as well as 2,000 needles, 200 mirrors, 30 pairs of scissors, 150 pounds of soap, 102 pounds of snuff, and 129 gallons of gin. What was explorer Sebastian Snow's recommended form of communication with the indigenous tribes of South America? A. Spanish, B. Swahili, C. Latin, D. Shouting and pointing.
Probably. I'll go C. Latin.
D is correct. Sebastian Snow was the first person to travel the length of the Amazon. Despite his many adventures around the world, he never bothered to learn the languages of any of the natives he was traveling with, believing that if you spoke good, loud English, anyone will understand you. What do Malagasy tribesmen do when they come across a snake? A. Kill it at once. B. Say hello. C. Kneel down and beg for mercy. D. Run away.
C. Kneel down and beg for mercy.
The Malagasy of Madagascar believe that snakes contain the spirits of their dead relatives. If they find one, they will greet it and examine it to see if it looks familiar. If it does, they will ask it a few questions. If the snake responds by shaking its head, then it is the relative. Then they take it home, give it some milk or chicken, and reunite it with the family. How did Commander Mansfield Cumming, the original head of MI6, reinforce his arguments? By wrestling colleagues to the ground? By removing his glass eye? By stabbing himself repeatedly in the leg? By drawing his father's sword?
B. By removing his glass eye.
Yes, that was it. It was a wooden leg, though. Nothing odd about old Mansfield. He lost his leg after a car accident in France, and according to one story, he cut it off with a penknife. He liked to get around the corridors of MI6, however, on a scooter. What does a sand dune sound like? A. A light breeze. B. A log fire. C. A twin-engined jet. D. Chickens clucking.
Chickens clucking, D.
C is the right answer. Some sand dunes make a noise like a low-flying aeroplane and can be heard from miles away. They also make noises like drums, foghorns, and trumpets. Chairman Mao led the Chinese Revolution and was China's supreme leader for almost 30 years. What gave his staff most cause for concern? A. His bowel movements. B. His peacocks. C. His mistresses. D. His golf swing.
A. His bowel movements.
Absolutely true. Mao had very bad constipation. The subject was discussed every day, and the staff celebrated if he managed a normal bowel movement. He had an enema every 2 or 3 days. The results are coming in. Thank you, Chuck. And that brings us to the delicate issue of the scores. Well, congratulations are in order. You've outdone Star Alan. Let's dance again, shall we? Congratulations. Welcome to the can-can, whose high kick routine was first practiced not by the French, but by the Egyptians in 2400 BC. So let's kick off ourselves with our first question. Why does the House of Lords smell faintly of urine? Is it A, incontinence, B, tweed, C, ermine, or D, plumbing?
I think it's B, tweed.
Yes, Harry's tweed, worn by many hereditary peers, is dyed using stale human urine. When wet, it gives off an unmistakable aroma. How much is 2p worth? A, nothing, B, 1p, C, 2p, or D, 3p?
One day ahead. Advice, won't say it twice.
2p, C.
If you have any 2p bits made before 1992, they're actually worth 3p if you melt them down, thanks to the increasing price of copper. Please don't, though. It's actually an offence to deface the coinage. Why was the inventor of the automatic machine gun arrested in 1913? A, for attacking the Salvation Army with a pea shooter. B, for melting down coinage. C, for shoplifting stockings. D, for wasting police time.
B, for melting down coinage.
Sir Hiram S. Maxim was a self-taught engineer and inventor of the first automatic, as opposed to hand-cranked, machine gun. He became rather eccentric in his old age. Albizia falcataria is A, the ability to sing like a bird of prey, B, the maiden name of Mozart's mother, C, the world's fastest growing tree, or D, the Italian for alphabet soup.
D, the alphabet soup.
The right answer is C. It can grow almost 35 feet, 11 meters, in a year. Which of the following began with a child's kite? A, Concorde, B, London Underground's Northern Line, C, the Niagara Falls Suspension Bridge, or D, the National Grid?
D, the National Grid.
C. The engineers who built the bridge got the first line over the rapids by offering $5 to anyone who could fly a kite to the other side. 10-year-old Homan Walsh won the prize when his kite stuck in a tree. Starting with the string, the engineers dragged successively heavier cables across, and so it was done. Charles Lindbergh was the first man to fly non-stop across the Atlantic. Which of the following did he invent? Filtered cigarettes, the air-sick bag, an artificial heart, Melton Mowbray pork pies.
Filtered cigarettes.
In 1930, a relative of Lindbergh suffered from heart trouble. The doctor couldn't operate without stopping the heart, which would have killed the patient, of course. Lindbergh began working on a solution, and 5 years later, he and Nobel laureate Alexis Carrel produced a working blood pump. Today's artificial hearts still use much of their original technology. The first eyewitness account of the Wright brothers' historic manned flight was printed in what sort of magazine? A. Yachting and Boating, B. Beekeeping, C. Birdwatching, or D. Nursing?
D. Nursing.
Indeed, it appeared in Gleanings in Bee Culture. The journal's publisher, Amos I. Root, had driven 175 miles to witness the flights. He became friendly with the two pioneers, and for the best part of 2 years, the achievements of the Wright brothers could be read nowhere else. Now, what would Shakespeare have done with a Winchester goose? A. Eaten one, B. Ridden one, C. Slept with one, or D. Used one to stuff pillows?
Eaten one. A.
B is the right answer. The notorious brothels of Southwark, where Shakespeare's Globe Theatre stood, were on land owned by the Bishop of Winchester. A Winchester goose was slang for a prostitute. What is celebrated in the US on January the 31st? A. National Gorilla Suit Day, B. National Hot Dog Day, C. National Mickey Mouse Ears Day, D. National Death Row Day.
B. National Hot Dog Day.
A. National Gorilla Suit Day is the invention of Don Martin, a cartoonist working for Mad magazine. It's a much-needed window of opportunity for anyone who owns a gorilla suit. What did injured US soldiers in Vietnam use to seal their wounds? Leaves? Burger buns? Super glue? Snakeskin?
It was A. Leaves.
It's true. The men were issued with individual tubes of it for emergency first aid. A more refined version is still used today in hospitals all over the world. Invented in the 1950s to prevent machinery from rattling, it was originally called liquid lock nut. The results are coming in. Thank you, Chuck. And that brings us to the delicate issue of the scores. Well, congratulations are in order. You've outdone Star Alan. Let's dance again, shall we? Congratulations.